A cynic once told me, foreign policy is nothing but a means to distract the masses and a method to mask up the distractions. Unfortunately, this is all too true in the case of India. I agree with the motion. India's foreign policy is not helping us achieve our goals and aspirations. Before we begin, what exactly are our goals and aspirations? Some people think that we should wage more wars, others think that we should make peace, but most Indians believe that our country should be powerful and well off enough to influence global affairs. In other words, we want India to be a superpower. Secondly, what's the time frame we're looking at for achieving these goals? A favorite defense of policymakers is to say that their particular policy helps India in the long run. But as John Maynard Keynes once said, in the long run, we're all dead anyway. I'm not saying it's not important to have a long-term policy. What I am saying is it's also important to take short-term steps to achieve these goals. Now, I think there are four major reasons why our foreign policy has failed to help us become a superpower. Firstly, we don't know when to act tough. Take the case of Pakistan. In spite of our peace overtures, it continues to remain a breeding ground for terrorist groups. Clearly, harsher measures are needed. We need to form a network of allies to counter terrorism in Pakistan. Which brings me to my next point. We don't know who to seek out as allies. Take the case of Israel. With its anti-Pakistan stance and its highly disciplined military, it's a valuable ally in the war against terror. Yet we first refused to recognize it and then collaborate with it until 1992. Similarly, Taiwan can act as a strategic counterpoint to China, in addition to being able to help our nascent electronics industry, yet we haven't even recognized it as a state yet. Thirdly, we don't know when to help out. When the Sri Lankan government approached us for aid, following the withdrawal of the Indian peacekeeping force, we refused. Consequently, China and Pakistan were able to supply the government with arms and were able to improve relations with the strategically located nation, the Cuba of India, if I may. Lastly, we don't know how to deal with the superpowers of today, America and China. Now, while India lags behind both currently, neither power wants to engage India in either traditional or economic warfare. We should monopolize on this, and rather than trying to woo either power, we should be prepared to take stands against the superpower's interests and instead develop better economic and political relations with their allies and other small states. This will help form not just a non-aligned bloc, but rather a pro-India one, which can give the superpowers issue-based support rather than permanently aligning itself with one bloc or the other. Some might argue that this is just another version of non-alignment, and Nehru's policy already left India in ruins. But I beg to differ. While Nehru's policy left India, in the words of Oscar Wilde, like a man who hath not an enemy in the world and all his friends have forgot him, I think this 21st century foreign policy will help India become, in the words of Bernard Shaw, not just a man, but a superman.